Hello guys, welcome to our final unit, which is IT and Society. Okay, so if I log in into our Moodle account, and now have an overview of the unit. So we are on Unit 5. So from this unit, the unit aim, the unit is going to aim for the learner will understand ethical, legal, and regulatory issues relating to IT. They will also understand the impact of IT on society. So this is a level 4 unit which has 12 credit, and the assignment will be marked with a fail or pass. So to achieve the unit, the learner must achieve the learning outcomes and meet the standard specification by the assessment criteria for the unit, with additional assessment guides provided on the ATHE sample assignment brief. So from our first unit, from our first learning outcome, we're going to understand how IT has changed way people live and work. So we'll look into our indicative content. We'll now look into computer and society, explaining what is digital citizenship, community and information, age, gender, age, culture. Also, we're going to look in impact of IT in society. So we're going to look into understanding the environment, explaining the impact of information age to social groups, IT induced changes for individuals, everyday life, at home, at school, at workplace. So as we can see, what we're going to the unit is trying to achieve is to understand how technology has changed our life and how this is impacting the way we live and communicate with each other. As we can see, there are different aspects. So for instance, we can look into what is a digital citizenship, where by doing so, we can now define the norms of appropriate responsible behavior with regarding technology use. So by citizenship, we just looking into what are our responsibilities whenever we are dealing with information technology. So as we all know, there might be sensitive content which cannot be accessed by younger people, or there might be private information related to other entities which we are not allowed to access. So we need to understand that by citizenship, there are different types of them. So we can look into digital access. We have made the example where the permission is not allowed to everyone, it will be now restricted. Then we have digital commerce, where electronically we can buy and sell of goods. Then we have digital literacy, digital ethic, where we have morals and we cannot invade these privacies. And also we have digital law, which is electronic responsibility for actions and needs. And then we have digital rights and responsibilities, where those freedoms extended to everyone in a digital world. So now let's look into how this information technology has been used within the community and in different ages. So as you can see, this is we've been living in a digital era where we not necessarily need to be in the same room to communicate, where we can be exchanging information through the internet, and this might be for different age groups. It now has to be related to a generation. So each generation nowadays can access the internet and share information. So let's look into maybe how this has impacted families, where technology allows families living in a different location to stay in touch with each other. So as you can see, we are an example of how technology has progressed over the years, especially after COVID pandemic, where most of the things are now moving to online. For instance, we can have these tutorials, these classes remotely, where students can join from every part of the world, and we can all stay connected and interact. All this can happen just due to the fact that information technology has been helping and been progressing over the years. Also, when it comes to work, we can see that people after the COVID pandemic has been given the opportunity to work from home, where people can now complete their own duties without being on site on the workplace, but just by having an internet connection and now work remotely, where maybe in some instance people can now save money on traveling and time as well, where they can simply get the work done and then enjoy their free time. So a question that we want to ask ourselves is, what is the impact of ICT on our communities? Say, for instance, we live in a high technological area where there are lots of emerging countries. So for instance, we say Asian countries such as China, Japan, where technology has been growing rapidly. Over there, over areas, we can now see how it has impacted their own community, how modernized and how fast communication happens within each other. So other example we can see of community would be strangers who have similar interests are now encouraged to read each other messages and communicate, giving each other advice, information and updates. So all these forum, let's call them forum or blogs, can now happen through online platforms. So for instance, maybe Facebook would have been seen as the first online forum where people connect to each other and can exchange their own opinion and what they like and what they don't like. And nowadays we do have loads of this type of online platforms, or even called social media. So another question we'll now be asking ourselves is, do other communication technologies affect societies the way internet does? So as you can see, mode of communication that is more prevalent in developing world than the computer-based internet or mobile phone. So what we can see is that in most Asia, the mobile phone has become a familiar gadget. And interestingly, mobile phones are now used only for making voice calls, but also short messaging. So let's look into a video which shows how how our society has been impacted by information technology.
It's because since the turn of the millennium, the tech in our lives has changed considerably. The launch of smartphones, social media platforms, modern cloud computing, electric cars, as well as the advancements of AI and VR, have and will continue to significantly shape the way we live our lives. At the turn of this decade, it's the perfect moment to look back at the last 20 years and forward to the next 20 and see what the future has in store. 2+ decades ago, digital was the disruptor. Today, digital is the establishment and touches every part of modern business. What we're witnessing now are businesses outside of blue-chip organisations pioneering more disruptive technologies. Today's technology disruptors are startups, entrepreneurs and researchers working in fields not yet fully understood. Historically, attracting talent into such organisations involved creating greater flexibility and scope for creativity. But looking ahead, technology firms will need to be more expansive in their approach to finding and keeping talent, helping staff to learn, evolve and adapt their skills to be the disruptors of future society. The turn of the millennium saw the emergence of technology and technology leaders as the new rock and roll, with founders being profiled as pioneers in much the same way as celebrities. This contributed to a feeling of inequality across the industry. Today's tech employees at both large and small companies are challenging inequality both internally and externally, including the issues of diversity, unfair pay, and tackling climate change. As these wider global issues mount and multiply, we can expect to see tech workers continue to call for key issues to be addressed. Attracting and retaining talent will require being aware of the big issues, acting on them, and communicating those actions. In short, running responsible businesses that lead, not follow, on addressing everything from the problem of e-waste, i-tech going to landfill, to privacy invasion, to addressing inequality at all levels, and much more. As we move to the 2020s, we've reached a turning point. For current and future generations, tech workers are the problem solvers, the thinkers, the inventors, and the innovators of our unfolding world. The tech industry is central to helping us join the dots between the problems we face in society and the solutions we need, and in doing so, helping us to build a better future.
CW Jobs, the home for tech jobs.
Imagine what would happen if every person in the United
Okay, so the video just gave us a clear understanding of how technology has impacted over the years. So now we're looking at how IT has been impacting our environment. So with IT environment framework, it is used to help IT professionals to identify and understand the most fundamental concepts associated with design, delivery, operation, and support of various different IT operating environment, which has been considered critical in the most IT organizations. So the impact of information age to social groups, where we can see that what happens is that with information technology and electronic commerce and business models, can now have an effective models, commerce, market structure, or workplace. So we now have business models, commerce, and market structure, where we can see that one important way which information technology is affected work is by reducing the importance of distance in many industries. The graphic distribution of work is changing significantly. So we also have an impact where it will now affect workplace and labor workers, where we have seen that technologies do not require, as I mentioned, do not require traditional face-to-face work, but we can just communicate via internet or maybe by phone calls or emails. And even in labor market, they could, for instance, in warehouses, could be introduced new IT solutions to improve the efficiency and productivity of the employees. Also, the way we have to look into how it impacts the education sector, where technology has now played a key role, where it can now have a lot of advantages and also disadvantages, where there are more information technologies devices being used for classroom and communication between teachers, staff, and students. And at the same time, all this mixture has to be regulated in order for us to work efficiently and teach appropriately. So moving on, how IT, how information technology can affect the everyday life at home, at school, and workplace, where we all know that information technology has been everywhere, and what happens is that even in our everyday life, we can, for instance, order food online, buying any stuff we want from e-commerce website without any type of regulation. While back in the days, we actually had to physically go to a shop, to a store, for us to purchase a good. While nowadays we can just do all this with a click. And what happens is also that with the internet itself has been transformed, where in the early days, which from historical perspective are still relatively recent, they always had a static network designed to shuttle a small frame of bytes. But nowadays, a computer, internet can process into a quantum level, so it can process high level of data and information, and this is how over the time internet has evolved. So this was everything for today. Is there any question?
There's no question for me.
No questions.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining. And